Hey, this is Perry Peacock, and this is my first little vlog. I decided to start doing a vlog. I'm out in the wilderness all the time. I camp every week. That's my job, and have a lot of experiences. Some fun, some not so fun, and also when I'm out here, most all the time I'm camping solo, so I have a lot of time to think, and so I thought a vlog would be kind of a cool way to put down, kind of record some of the things I think, some of the things I want to say, and even some of my experience and stories and stuff like that. Well, I thought for doing this vlog I might go, some of them will be done at home, you know, maybe at the house, maybe going for a walk, for a bike ride, whatever the case may be. I'm going to make however many I can out in the elements where I spend a lot of my time. Today's vlog is entitled Fear. And some recent things that happened to me, as well as some things I've been thinking over time. Some things I've been thinking of over time, customer comments that people make to me on YouTube or different things like that. They all contribute to kind of my little deal today. Well, now right up here, somebody sometime made a bench. And I'm going to sit on that bench. That's where I'm going to do my vlog from, for the most part. Right here. Isn't that nice? You see what I'm looking at out there? So if I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at the scenery. So, yeah, so here's where I'm going to do the vlog from, right here. I mean, why not? So later on in the vlog, I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me, actually, right out here a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, I guess now. And but for right now, let me just kind of introduce my thoughts here in relation to this subject, fear. So in my business, we deal with outdoor gear and stuff like that. And I made some videos that people question, and they say, well, doing that is dangerous, it's harmful, don't tell people to do stuff like that or whatever. So it's kind of bothered me for a few years, I guess, just different things, and I've contemplated a lot of times about, what kind of fears we deal with in our lives. And so here's one of the first one. This happened a few years ago. A guy called me on the phone at our business, and he started telling me, well, hey, I've watched your videos and all that sort of thing, and I really enjoy them. But he says, I just wanted to know, like, how do you do it? And to be honest with you, I was kind of puzzled, because I'm like, I don't know what do you mean? How do I do it? I mean, I'm not some guy jumping off of cliffs or whatever. I mean, I'm not doing crazy stuff. but so I was trying to figure out, what does he mean? How do I do it? So I kept probing him with questions, and he just didn't want to give it up. And finally he says, well, how do you go out there, and, like, I had done some videos at that time where I was sleeping on the ground and stuff, and some of that, and he's, how do you do that? How do you sleep on the ground? I'm like, well, I just throw down there and go to sleep. I mean, I don't really think about it. So, but the guy was serious, like, well, no, I mean, don't you worry about stuff? And I said, I'm really dense, I guess. I still didn't really quite catch it. I'm like, worried about what? You know, he says, like bugs or something, or spiders or snakes or something, you know. Like, I don't know. I never really thought about it much. I said, no, I guess I don't worry about it too much. I mean, you know, I don't do stuff that attracts harmful things. So, I try not to do that. But other than that, I mean, I just go live my life, you know, do my thing. And so anyway, so we had a little conversation. I said, well, you know, and I've told people this. I've told people this a lot of times. I've said, well, um, you know, going camping, it's probably more dangerous to drive to where you're going to go camping than it is to actually go camping or hiking or backpacking, whatever you're doing. You know, it's probably more dangerous getting there. It's probably more dangerous driving to the grocery store. You know, and you know, a lot of times we don't think of that. You know, I was an engineer for a period of time, and part of what I did was stress testing and designing repetitive testing to see if gear would last, different things would last a certain time or whatever, or where the fatigue points were or something like that, you know. And I took a survival class back in the 80s from a guy, and one of his constant sayings was basically saying anything you really need will fail when you need it the most. And so that was kind of his thing, you know. You got to be, if something happens, you just got to figure, well, it happened, you know. I mean, anything mechanical can break, anything made can break, you know. So if a person were to try to come up with all the scenarios and account for all that, I mean, you'd stay in a closet all day. You'd never go anywhere. You'd never do anything for fear. So, you know, you can't let fear drive you. Now, in spite of that, we all have fears. And we all deal with them in one form or another. You know, and there's some things that one person is fearful of that another person could care less, doesn't bother them a bit, you know. And in fact, a story just popped into my head. So this is how my vlog's gonna go. I got nothing written, I just got a concept. So whatever comes in my head, that's what you're gonna get. I don't even know what it's gonna be myself, to a big degree. Anyway, so years ago, back in the maybe mid-80s, I guess, I had designed and patented some snowshoes and stuff, and I used to go up on top of this mountain peak, right up on top where there was cliffs all dropping off the other way, no trees or anything like that. And we'd go up there in the wintertime and leave at like, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning or something, and we'd snowshoe up to the top, and the idea was to get our backpacking stoves and cook breakfast right on this peak as the sun came up. And so that was kind of our deal, you know. And well, one day I went up, and we were going a little later, because the guy that wanted to go with me, he was a fellow engineer actually, and he was like, he had to go at a different time, but anyway, on the way up, when we're getting close to the top, there's a place where we kind of follow along kind of a ridge line, and you have to be a little cautious because the wind constantly blows in one direction. The wind constantly blows in one direction, and you got a cliff here, and the wind blows like this. Well, the snow keeps accumulating on this backside where the cliff drops off, so it makes a cornice. And sometimes that thing can be pretty big, pretty massive. So anyway, we're going up there, and we get into this one spot, and the guy that was with me, Paul, he's like, he's going right out on the edge of that thing. And I said, Paul, I said, get back. I said, that's not safe out there. And, oh, no, it's all right. And I said, look, I come up here all the time. I'm going to tell you right now, where you're at is dangerous. And, oh, no, it's nothing. He was a guy that really had very little, if any, fears. No fear of heights, no real fear of dangers or whatever. And he's out there, and I know, I'm actually worried that everything's going to break loose, because I know by the time I see where he's at, like, he's way out there. And he doesn't realize it. He thinks he's on the edge. He just thinks he's on the edge of the mountain. He doesn't realize, where he's really at. So he's all the way out there. And I said, Paul, I said, you come on back. I said, so I want to be telling your wife that you didn't make it today. So nothing's going to happen to me, And I'm like, man, please come back. I said, you're scaring me to death. Oh, you're scared of stuff. I'm not scared of anything, kind of. And anyway, I said, it's not safe. It's not solid where you're at. You are not over the mountain. You're over the air. You're hanging out there. Oh, no, I'm not. So he stomped his feet, his snowshoes, and he took his ski pole and he smacked it down in the snow like this, and it went all the way through. And it's like silence, man. It is like, this guy's face turns like losing his color. And he is like silent, motionless, not knowing what to do. So when he pulled that pole back up, that pole had cut a hole. He could see through the snow. I mean, it wasn't very, I don't know what you can see here. It wasn't very thick. I mean, it's probably relatively sturdy because it's, because of the snowdrift formed in cold temperatures by the wind. But anyway, so then he's like, I said, just come back slowly, slowly. So he just inched his way back and got back to safety. So then I took him back around this one bend in the ridge line where it kind of came back, and you could look at where he's at face on. And when he got back there and saw where he was at, he's like, why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you stop me? And I'm like, I tried to, man. I tried to. You wouldn't listen to me. So I guess I had fear. He had the absence of fear, To him, there's nothing to worry about. And so sometimes fear can be helpful because it helps to warn us of danger. But a lot of times our fears of something that'll never happen, fears of, just fears of unlikely things. And sometimes those kind of fears keep us from doing things that maybe we'd really like to do and maybe we should do. So that's kind of part of my vlog today is talking about fears. So, all right, so realistically, have I ever been afraid of where I'm camping? Well, what do you think? I'm doing a thing on fear, Of course I've been scared. I mean, what are you talking about? I've been scared a lot of times. This isn't like, hey, I'm Chuck Norris or something, Everything is fearful of me. It's just real. It's just realistic, I think. I mean, to me, it's realistic. So, yeah, I've been afraid. I mean, I've been camping sometimes in a forest or whatever, and there's storms and stuff like that, and you hear trees crashing down in the wind, and you're like, I hope one of them doesn't hit me, I mean, yeah, it's a genuine fear. when I lived back east in the Carolinas. We'd camp out there with the Boy Scouts and stuff. Sometimes we'd have some of those southern thunderstorms come through, and man, they will rock the world. I'll tell you what. Lightning striking everywhere, the winds blowing, the rain's just coming down like you can't believe. And back then, even then, I was kind of in the mode of not using a tent. Not that a tent would stop a tree from falling on you or anything, but still, yeah, there's some fears there. One time I was camping out here in the desert, and this big thunderstorm came up, and it was just rumbling through the canyon. It almost seemed like an earthquake. And then I heard some rocks break loose from up on a cliff. And you could hear them just tumbling down the mountain and everything. You're like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's nothing around me but cliffs. I'm like, so I'm not in the best spot if rocks start falling. So yeah, there can be some fears, no doubt about it. I've camped in areas where I know there's a lot of bear activity, where I've seen bears in there, in the very spot I've camped. Stuff like that. And so you think about it, but in reality, I just do stuff where, some people ask me because sometimes I might put where I sleep might be a couple 100 feet from my campfire and my cooking area. Well, and sometimes some of that's because of bear danger. It's recommended that you be 100, 200 feet away or so from where you cooked. Does it help? I don't know. It's what it says. I've read books of people who've done a lot of stuff in heavy bear country in Alaska and Canada and stuff, and that's what they said. That's what they recommended. Did that always solve the problem? Oh no. Sometimes they still got a bear prowling around. But, they're still alive. So fears, it's an important thing to think about. So anyway, yeah, there are some legitimate fears. There absolutely are. But like I was telling that guy that called me that time where I started this vlog with, it might be more dangerous driving to where you're going camping than actually camping. I had a cousin 2 or 3 years ago that drove several blocks down to the grocery store down there in southern Utah. And a guy ran a light or something in a truck and hit her broadside, killed her instantly. I mean, she was just stepping out for 10 or 15 minutes and going to be back home, and she never came back. So, I guess it kind of comes to the point of, you got to say, well, yeah, there's risks in living. I mean, this world is full of risks. But, you try to leave out the ones that you can control, and the rest of it, you just kind of got to go with it, I think, So one thing we talked about here, okay, is one thing is fear of bugs, spiders, snakes, all that kind of thing. When I lived in the Carolinas, we'd camp up in the mountains, and people told me constantly the mountains are full of copperheads and rattlesnakes and all this kind of stuff. And heck, we're out with the Boy Scouts. We're playing Steal the Flag at midnight, and we're crashing through the brush, crawling around through who knows what, I mean, we never had anything happen to us. And we used to sleep a lot of times with the Scouts. We'd throw down a tarp, throw down our sleeping bags, throw another tarp over the top of that, and go to sleep. I remember sometimes in the spring especially, we'd have spiders crawling all over the place, all over us and junk. And, it never hurt anybody. I mean, they just crawl off, Think a spider wants to be on you or whatever, So, there's stuff like that. I remember it's been a few years ago, I was camping down in farther south from where I live here, about an hour and a half farther south, and the forestry people had this thing on. They were black lighting for scorpions at night, and so you'd meet at the visitor welcome center or whatever, visitor center, at like 9 or 9:30 at night, and they'd hand everybody these flashlights that had black lights in them, and then we'd drive about 15 minutes away and just to get away from everything, and then they'd get you out there and say, turn your lights on. Holy cow, there's scorpions everywhere. I'm telling you what, they're all over the place. I was like, because they glow in the dark, you know, and or they glow in the black light. So I'm at first I were walking along this kind of gravel road, and everybody's just kind of, well, so I start counting them, you know, and it doesn't take long, you know, and I've counted more than 50 of them. And I kind of didn't keep a good count after that, but I know I got over 100 easily before I totally just like, there's not even any point. They're like everywhere. And now get this. So my camp where I was camping was in the same kind of area nearby, you know, and I'm like sleeping on the ground, you know. Well, when I went back, after all this experience, I went to camp, it's like, well, I thought about it, and I thought, well, I don't know, I haven't been bothered yet. So I just crawled, you know, threw my bed out, crawled back in it, and went to sleep, you know, nothing bothered me. That's not to say you can't. A couple of weeks ago, somebody's telling me they're camping out, and they camped and left their sleeping bags out or something all day, and then got back in at night, and a scorpion had crawled in one of the bags, and one of the people got a little sting by the scorpion or whatever, but kind of like a bee sting or something. But anyway, so, you know, that's the case. Yeah, if you're on the ground, if you're leaving your stuff on the ground and it's out exposed, you do want to, a lot of times I'll pick my gear up and throw it over a branch of a tree or something during the day and throw it back down or something. You know, because during the day you can get some critters in there, you know, but even at that, I mean, it's just not that likely. So, here's another fear deal I did. I got so much junk from this. It's like this vlog. These vlogs aren't always going to be about camping and stuff. I don't think. I don't know. Well, I can't say. I don't know what they're going to be about. But I know I'm going to do some. I'm going to do one on suicide. I had somebody I knew that did that it's been quite a number of years ago now. But you know, another thing. You know, a lot of different things. Just I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Some of the stuff I got to figure out how to talk about it without disclosing people's identities, because some of it'd be best if nobody knew who it was, you know what I mean? So some of it I got to figure that out before I do it, but I got a lot of stuff. I think it'll be interesting. I got a couple, actually, speaking of fears, I actually have 2 bear stories that I'm going to tell you. One from when I was a little tiny kid, and that, but and one when I was about a teenager or something, about in there. So, but that'll be in some other vlogs coming up. But so, you know, be looking for them. Be sure and catch them all so you don't miss anything, because you never know what might come out of my mouth. Anyway, so anyway, it was during the middle of the summer, I think. Something like that. I was up camping, and I did a video on using a hatchet around camp. Oh my gosh, people went nuts. They're like, one guy's like, I'm going to be in on the first lawsuit you have from that, or whatever, something like that. I mean, I mean, there are people going nuts over it. Like, you need to take this video down immediately. Somebody's going to chop their hand off if they do what you're showing them to do. And, you know, it's all... But it's all fear. It's fear-based. And there might be some of you guys that are in the same boat. You know, I don't have anything against anybody. You know, do what you want. But I'm just trying to show... I'll put a link in the description. I'll put a link to this video if you want to watch it. But basically, I made this video. I'm showing how to use a hatchet, and because it's kind of bothered me the last few years. I've noticed people make, I mean, even respectable survival and outdoors instructors telling their students to baton a hatchet, you know, hit a hatchet with a baton. And I'm just like, that's not right. It's just not right, man. It's, you know, I mean, you can do it if you want, but it's not, a hatchet wasn't made for that. And if you don't know what batoning is or whatever, click on the link and watch the video. Anyway, basically it's, and people do it commonly with a knife. It's a way of turning a heavy-duty knife into something to split and chop wood. Because a knife doesn't usually have as much weight as an axe or a hatchet has, so the baton helps add some weight and force to it. Anyway, it just bothers me watching people do that. I don't know why. Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. I don't know. So in the video, I tell, well, when I was growing up, I was a little kid. My dad was building a house with my uncle for my grandparents. And I remember one day he's nailing up windows. So these whole, like as a window, as an aluminum window frame, I think. And it had the glass in the windows and everything. And he sets it up there and he starts driving nails in all around this flange on the frame. And I'm like, I'm cringing. I'm like, Dad, you're going to hit the glass. He's like, I'm not going to hit the glass. And I ask him, why do you think you're not going to hit the glass? Here I am, the doubting kid, right? Like, I'm thinking, you're going to hit the glass, you're going to bust the window, and it's all going to be gone, And so Dad's like, no, I'm not going to. He says, I've been using a hammer all my life. I learned the skill of using a hammer. When I use the hammer, I know where it's going to strike. I know exactly where it's going to strike because I have become skilled at using a hammer. So I was trying to impart that kind of thing into this video on using the hatchet. Is, come on people, learn how to use a hatchet the way it was designed to be used. A hatchet has a head on it, unlike a knife. Has a big head on it that has a lot of weight. And the head's out at the end of a handle. And the reason for that is so you take mechanical advantage of the weight of that swinging. It makes it like a lever. That weight's on the end of a lever. When you swing it, takes advantage of all that to make the work easier and simpler, and I contend safer. So anyway, I explained that, and then I showed using the hatchet. And I'm gonna mount the camera here so I can demonstrate sort of what I was trying to explain. So anyway, here I am right now in this vlog demonstrating what is in the video. Just watch the video, right? But so anyway, I'm just to give an example, I'm like this is a piece of wood I'm going to split, for example. And I'm showing if you hold the wood up top and you're using a hatchet, well, if you miss, you hit your finger or your hand. If you hold the wood down at the bottom and you don't stop the hatchet in time, you you can chop your fingers between the piece of wood you're cutting, your stump or whatever, and all that. I hold the wood near the top, and I hold it loosely. If I miss, it just brushes my hand out of the way. I mean, I'm not anywhere where my hand is going to be caught between something to get it chopped off, right? So that's the idea. Watch the video. Anyway, so that's the concept of it all. So anyway, so I do this in this video, and I just show people. And what I'm trying to say, and maybe I didn't get it across well enough, I don't know. Trying to say is start off at a certain point, wherever you're at, and start using the hatchet the way it's supposed to be used, and just work at it, you know, a little at a time. Eventually you'll become skilled enough to where, just like my dad with the hammer and the nails, you know, telling me I know exactly where my hammer is going to strike. You know, I've done this all my life. I've practiced. I've learned. I have the skill. You get the same skill with the hatchet. So anyway, so the deal from this whole experience was all the people that commented about, they were just scared to death. I mean, people would write and say, man, I just cringed watching you do that video. Like, I just thought, man, your fingers are gone, your hand's gone, you know, or whatever. And I'm like, I really was never at any point in any danger. But it's that fear. So here's the deal. So a lot of comments that were made were something such as this. They would say, well, maybe doing what you're doing is okay when you learn how, but if you baton the hatchet, it's safer. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess maybe it is. I don't know. Give you a different view of me now. There we go. I'll give you a different view of me now. Better make sure my microphone's still working. It is. I just thought doing this vlog when I can, I'll try to switch the camera on a little so you don't have to look at the same ugly face from the same position all the time. So anyway, so that's what really kind of got me is, so people are so fearful that they're afraid to use a hatchet the way a hatchet's supposed to be used. And I'm like, man, it's just not right, you know? They just shouldn't have that kind of fear. I mean, think of all the pioneers, all the all the people over the last 100, 200, 300 years and stuff that have used all this stuff, you know? I mean, I'm sure some accidents happened, of course, you know, but, you know, I know people who a cow stepped on them when they're milking them and busted their legs up and junk. So it's not just a hatchet, it just happens in life. Anyway, so then I'm like, I get this idea. I'm going to make a video where I baton a full-fledged heavy-duty forest axe, which would be ridiculous, right? I mean, I'd have to have a baton like this big around and this long to make an axe actually split into some wood, because the head of the axe is, you know, 2, 3, 4 pounds or something, you know. So I thought, I'm going to do that one of these times. Well, lo and behold, somewhere I see it. I think Instagram or somewhere, I don't know. Here's a couple of people. One person is holding the axe on a piece of wood, right? The other person has a big long stick, and they're whacking the back of whacking the head of the axe. I mean, this is a full-fledged forest axe, and that's how they're splitting wood. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even have to make the video. And from what I can gather from that, that's some kind of a school, kind of an outdoor school or something. And I'm like, why are they teaching them this? It's making me crazy. So anyway, I didn't have to go there. Somebody already did it. But anyway, then a little bit while, I don't know, sometime here, somebody wound up kind of asking the question again about the safety and all that. And I wrote a long answer. It's in, if you watch the video, you go down in the comments, you'll see what I wrote. But anyway, I kind of started thinking about it. I thought, you know what? I'm not so sure that batoning a hatchet is safer than just using it regular, developing the skill. Because I started thinking about if somebody is so unskilled so far, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, it's just something you learn. It's a skill. You learn how to do it. So nobody has it till they learn it. I'm saying learn the skill. So I started thinking, if somebody is so shaky, so fearful, and they're trying to use a hatchet like with this hand, and then trying to strike the hatchet with a mallet, with a baton, a club, whatever, like that, well, who knows but what they might be wobbly with their hand anyway and hit that thing and it slides off and they still hit themselves in the shins. I mean, it's still possible. I mean, so I kind of wrote that in my answer. So it's like the fear still doesn't go away because you did this other thing. There still is the chance for a problem. The real answer is develop the skill and the fear goes away. Now, you always have a healthy fear of things because, things can't happen. So you're always watching and you're thinking when you're using an axe or a hatchet. What's my follow through? You're thinking about that. So you're trying to make sure you have no body parts in the follow through if it glances off or whatever. So you always have that kind of healthy cautionary fear. And anyway, so that's the other thing about fear. Some of these fears I think are kind of unwarranted. So now kind of at the beginning of this vlog, I'm probably getting close to the end of it. I haven't even decided how long they're going to be. I don't think I'm going to try to. They're going to be however long they are until I get done talking. That's pretty much. I'm pretty spontaneous. So the story I promised to tell you at the first happened to me up here like 3 weeks ago today, or yesterday. So I was up camping here, and I had brought my mountain bike along because I wanted to do a bunch of exploring back on some roads. Some of that stuff is not really vehicle roads. So I thought I'd ride my mountain bike out. I'm trying to get out in here and on some of the ends of these buttes and stuff, and trying to find, there's not a way out to all of them, but trying to find out if there's a way out that gives me another different view. So that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to find another different view. So I was gone, half the day on my mountain bike, just all over the creation out here and everything. So I get back. I had made dinner, was buried in the coals in the fire, so I unburied it, and I had chicken and potatoes roasted in a Dutch oven down in the coals of the fire. So I ate all that. I packed everything up in my Tahoe to leave, and I get in, go to start it, and it goes click, 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 and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I'm making sure every possible thing is turned off. I'm like, and I didn't do anything for like about a half hour. And I jumped back in and did a quick try, and the same thing. I was like, it's not happening. Now I used to have a jump starter thing, one of those emergency jump starter things, but I don't know, a lot of those I've talked to other people, it's like you use them a couple of times and it's like they're no good after that. It's like they don't last or something. But I had been investigating recently getting some of the new stuff they got with the lithium batteries and stuff, you know. But anyway, so I don't have anything. I'm out here, where I'm at is not even on the map, you know, and I'm 5 miles of winding. In fact, watch one of my last videos and I show a bunch of the winding around you do getting out here. I mean, it's there's more twists and turns than you can imagine. But anyway, so I'm not in, this is not a good spot to be broke down like this. There is a mountain out here, Cedar Mountain, that has radio towers and stuff up on it, and it's in proximity of here, line of sight. So I do have phone and internet on my phone, actually. So I'm not like totally, you know, whatever. But I thought, well, you know, I could always get on my mountain bike and I could ride out to the nearest town, which is about 35 miles away from here or so, right out on the gravel road. Didn't really want to do that, but I thought that's an option. Thought I would rather have somebody come and jump me. So anyway, so I wind up, I tried a number of other things. I'm also trying to figure out a way to cobble all the batteries I have for all the devices I have, trying to see if I could figure out some way to cobble together all the power from all those, put all that together, and try to put it on the battery to see if I could get it to start, you know. I'm thinking of all kind of things, right? And it was cold weather up here, so I even tried to warm the battery up. None of it helped. So this time it's, you know, it's starting to get dark. So I called my wife and tell her. She's like, "Well, I'll come out and get you." And I'm thinking, no, it's probably not good because it's dark, getting dark already. She got to come all the way over the mountain. She's an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me. And plus trying to find me in the night. There's no road signs. There's no sign where to turn off. There's no, I would literally have to have her be driving in the dark, watching like an eagle, and describing what she's going through, and hopefully she sees what she needs to see to turn off on the right road. I mean, it's pretty sketchy. So anyway, she made the attempt, and she actually drove by me. She wound up 15 miles further east than I was, and so she hit the paved highway out there and went home. So I decided, I'll just go to bed tonight. I'll worry about it tomorrow. And she said, well, she was kind of concerned. So she says, well, do you have food? I mean, will you be all right? I'm like, oh yeah, for food. I mean, I'm camping in the vehicle. I got my camp boxes and everything. I'm like, I got a week, 2 weeks of food in there at least. And water, I got, you know, close to a week of water, at least, you know, maybe more. So I'm like, yeah, I can stay out here a week and not even know it. So I'm like, I'm fine, you know. So I did think of that. I thought, well, you know, so there's something. My wife had a fear. Am I going to be okay? And, you know, and I was able to not have a fear because I had some preparations. I knew, well, okay, I'm broke down here. Worst case scenario, it means I got another night or two of camping, you know. So anyway, so I didn't have any fear of any of that. So I'm cool, you know. And so there could be a fear that could be alleviated by being prepared. So I think I kind of need to wind this up. I think I've been more than 30 minutes or so. I don't want to bore you to death on the first time around. But my goal is to do these as often as I can. I want to get to a point where I do them every day. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that right off the bat, but so you just have to kind of watch, you know, subscribe and click the little bell button and everything, so, you know, so that you get them, you know. They'll be on my personal, well, if you're watching this, you know where it is. That's stupid. Where is it? You're watching it, obviously you found it. But I'm going to cross-link back and forth between my Wilderness Innovation channel, where I've got over 500 videos on there, and then this new personal, it's a personal channel, but I'm sponsoring it off of Wilderness Innovation for right now. Maybe I have some other sponsors as time goes on or something, I don't know. But, so the point I think is, the world is full of dangers, the world is full of things that could happen. Try to mitigate whatever you can, use common sense as much as possible. You know, for example, I'm out here on these cliffs. I don't go hang out over the edge like I see people on Instagram doing and stuff. You know, dangling over the edge. No, I'm not doing that. I've seen rocks break off of here. I'm not going to be out there when that happens. So, that's one thing I do. When I go camping in my vehicle, and most of the time camping, I usually have too much stuff with me. I usually take more stuff than I need just because I just want to be comfortable and I want to be safe, you know. There's a lot of times I don't, just because, but anyway, I mean, so a lot of these things we can mitigate. You know, when we're driving, we can use defensive driving. We can try to watch for other things happening, you know, stuff like that. In storms, we can try to do the best we can to get out of danger in a storm, you know. But, you know, I mean, we can all get sick. We could trip over the sidewalk and break a leg. I mean, we could fall in the shower and get a head injury. I mean, there's so many things that can happen. And I'm worried. I was talking to some people at our church a week or so ago, and they were mentioning how some people who go out on missions can't handle it. Some of our young people will go on missions for a year to 2 years or whatever. And when the young people go out, you know, most of the time they used to handle it, but we see like a little more, it seems like, maybe it's just in our minds, that some of them are more fearful of going out. And I think, you know, so I just kind of prompted me to bring up this whole fear thing, and just to say, hey, you know, you do the best you can, caution-wise, and after that, you know, you just got to get out and enjoy your life. You got to get out and just do what you got to do and try to do your best. You know, you can have financial fears, you can have mental, emotional fears, you can have fears of something going to happen, going bankrupt, you know, have somebody suing you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can't even name all the things you could be fearful of. But the important thing is, don't let that fear dominate your thinking. Try to just enjoy every day. I think the best advice I ever heard before was, take one day at a time, make every day the best you can. Tomorrow's another day. And I think that might be some of the best things we can do. Yeah, and then the other thing, if you're prepared, you won't have fear. So there's a couple things right there. And other than that, just get out and live your life. If there's something like hatchet work, learn the skill. You know, just different things, even knife work. Learn the skill of a knife. You know, all these kind of things. You know, just don't worry so much. Some people are just worrying themselves sick. And I see it in the comments I'm getting. So that's why I did this vlog, is because next time when people ask me about it, I'm going to refer them to this vlog. Go listen to that. Maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. Maybe I rambled on for nothing. Anyway, This is Perry Peacock with my personal vlog. The first one of hundreds or thousands of them, hopefully, if I live long enough. Look at that fear of living, fear of dying. I don't know. I don't think about it much. But, you know, take every day, do the best you can with it. Try to enjoy your life. Do the best you can to try to help somebody every day. That helps a lot. You know, if you can try to do something for somebody each day, that'll take a lot of fear and worry out of your own life, because you start thinking about somebody else and what they're going through. So that's just my comments, my 2 bits. Does anybody out there even know what 2 bits is anymore? Am I too old? I don't know. You know, leave your comments in the comments section down here. Ask questions, whatever. Leave your thoughts. And hopefully everybody doesn't tell me to shut up and don't ever do this again. Because I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. If there's only one person listens to it, I guess that'll be enough. I'm going to do it anyway, right? I got to be determined. Determination. So have a great day. Enjoy your time out here, wherever you're at. Whether in the parking lot of Walmart or whether you're out here like this, enjoy your time wherever you're at. Make the most of it. Have a good time. Be positive. Once again, Perry Peacock, I swear this is the end of my vlog. I'm not going to say another word.